Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. My name is Gregory Held, and this is the program that brings you the story of Lutheran Christians and their ministries in southwestern Pennsylvania. With us today is Pastor April Dailey, pastor of the Crooked Creek Cooperative Parish. That's a mouthful, April.
It is.
Welcome. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you.
And we want to remind folks that back when the Crooked Creek Parish was in its infancy stages, you were kind enough to come on the program to share a little bit of what was being tried and what was being developed in those days. And at that point, I think we even said you'll have to come back sometime.
That's right.
And give us a catch-up or report on how things are going. It's been how long since we did that?
Somewhat over 6 years. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, so time does fly.
It does. It definitely does.
But thank you again, really, for coming in and for sharing a bit about your ministry and the Crooked Creek connection up there. Why don't we start just by reminding people, I'm sure they out there don't remember 6 years ago what we talked about.
That's true.
Just describe for us a bit the setting and how that ministry was initially organized, and then we'll share some progress stories.
Right. Well, the cooperative is 3 congregations. 2 of the congregations have been in a yoked agreement for many, many years. The 3rd congregation had been involved in various other arrangements down through the years, but was by itself at the time of the formation of the cooperative. And then through some work in the synod and the members of the council and the members of the congregations, this was proposed as a possible alternative arrangement with the 3 congregations. All 3 have Ford City addresses, but none are near Ford City. It'd be Bethel and St. Michael's and United Rockville. And United Rockville and St. Michael's had been in a parish, but not a cooperative, for many, many years prior to that. So Bethel was the new partner, so to speak, in that regard.
And were you involved with the congregations prior to the reorganization, or did that all happen together at the same time?
No, I was not involved. I was serving in another parish, and then began searching for another call, and had learned that this had been formed but wasn't really underway. They were awaiting a pastor to be called before it would truly get underway in a full sense. It was formed on paper, so to speak, but not functioning as a cooperative yet.
The concept was sort of in focus, but hadn't launched yet, I guess we might say also.
That's right. That's
right. Thinking back on it, April, what were the probably the biggest challenges and the most exciting prospects for you with that kind of a new beginning?
Probably some of those were the same things, the idea of serving the 3 congregations, how that would work, time-wise and so forth. We did have an intention of bringing a second person on half-time, whatever that would precisely look like. That was one of the original intentions, so that encouraged me to some degree. But that was also one of the challenges, was how would this all work? And also because the previous arrangement with 2 congregations, as is often the case, sometimes there are concerns, from the history, but the new partner brings a whole new feel to the parish. So that was both a challenge and somewhat exciting to think about something brand new forming, and it was the first such entity in our synod, so it was kind of new territory.
I know today we want to spend some time talking about the other folks who have been involved in leadership and ministry over the course of time. At the beginning, when you first became involved, was there already talk at that point about involving multiple leaders in, I guess, a variety of capacities?
Right, there was talk. Nothing definitive had been done. Again, they were waiting till I was brought on board. But there was a plan in the covenant for the cooperative that there would be a second person part-time, but it wasn't clearly defined exactly. The thought was that would probably be someone ordained, was the original thought. And we began to seek for such a person, and there didn't seem to be anyone to fill that position. So that low.
So how long was it then in the early time that you were there on your own, more or less?
About 6 months. We would, because of the arrangement, the way we do worship on Sunday, where I'm at Bethel on normally the first and third Sundays, and United Rockville and St. Michael's the second and fourth, and then the fifth Sundays alternate. We were working with basically with supplies on Sundays in those alternate locations. So it was about 6 months. It was from March until about September until that changed.
And how would you characterize the ministries that are mission initiatives that were already alive and working in smaller congregations like this that are coming together?
Each congregation had certain things in existence, but a lot of them had become, I guess, dormant, as it were, because there wasn't a lot of activity in any of the congregations for a while. They were all in sort of a vacancy situation, or well, Bethel was being served by an interim for quite a period of time. So with the exception of a few things like the ladies groups and so forth, a lot of things had kind of quieted, as it were. You know, there wasn't a lot of activity initially. So we're in the process then of getting things going again, which in a way was advantageous because it was going to be formed new anyway. It was a parish venture instead of individual congregations. So it was an advantage in that regard that we weren't trying to alter things that existed, but start some things up again, but in a new way. So it was a help in that regard.
I could see how that could be the case. What then were the first things to kind of spring to life or provide some impetus for ministries as things began to revive?
Well, we knew that we needed to tend to some of the usual practical ministry issues, the things everybody loves, the committees, things of that sort, forming those for the parish. For example, worship and music, to do that together as a parish, what would plan for a worship or evangelism and groups like that. Then things like a youth group, a children's group, reconfiguring then the ladies groups for the whole parish, getting a men's group underway, things of that nature were some of the parish ministries that we looked at. And then springing out of groups like the evangelism committee, what could we do as a parish in the community and so forth. One thing that I neglected to mention that did exist quite some time prior to the formation of the Cooperative, where the three churches were working together as the area food bank. That was something that the three congregations had worked together on for quite a few years. So that, of course, is continuing. Volunteers from each church, monies from each congregation going into the common treasury for that to support that. So that was one thing that happened before, which was just one small connection that maybe helped to bring them together a little more easily. It's a small thing, but it's important.
And it's interesting that the one thing, or one of the few things that were still perpetuating some ministry was an outreach ministry.
Right.
It was something that enabled them to see beyond their own doors and to stay connected with their community.
Right, exactly. And the involvement then has grown since the formation of the Cooperative. We have more people from all of the churches involved, so it has grown, but it was already in existence. That's right. That's right. And they've now sought to do some other things. The women's group do a variety of projects, some of them very practical nature type things, such as providing all kinds of supplies, making things for a local hospice, the Red Cross, quilts for the Red Cross, things of that sort. So some of the very practical outreach kinds of ministries in that regard.
Well, we are at the point where we need to take our first break in today's program, and we'll come back and talk about some of the other leadership that has been involved, and I guess we can say actually shows some flexibility in the organization and the ministries there. We'll be right back then.
Okay.